The RS Guide is the website that me and 4 of my friends have poured over 600 hours into over the past 3 weeks, and I'm here to tell you that it's finally ready. In this video, I'm going to be taking you through some of the insane new features, like the skill trainer, gear recommender, account goal progression guide, combat style deep dives, league hub, and day 1 pathway, and of course, the first time brand new player guide that you can send to your friends who are thinking about trying RuneScape 3 for the first time. If you're someone who's ever had trouble figuring out information on what to do in RuneScape 3, how to get started, or maybe you've had friends that have wanted to get into the game but you don't really know where to point them, this video and this website is for you. I soft launched it about a week and a half ago, and the soft launch went extremely well. We got a ton of really good feedback to help us make the website even better, and in general, the community was extremely supportive, which I wanted to very quickly say thank you very much for, as just yesterday, we reached 100,000 unique page visits, which is kind of insane when you think about the size of the RuneScape 3 community. Let's start off with a bang. Have you ever had a skill that you wanted to train, but you have no idea where to look to figure out where you could actually train it? You could go on a YouTube guide that came out several years ago, might be outdated, and you'll have to click through probably half of the video just to get to your specific level bracket. Or maybe you've tried going on the wiki and looking through their skilling guides, which are very informative, but are also very convoluted in a lot of ways and have way more information than you want if you're just trying to answer the question, where should I train my skills at my current level? Well, welcome to the skill training guide, where you type in your RuneScape name, and then all you have to do is click on the skill that you want to train. And just like that, it has automatically looked up my agility level, which is 61 on this account, and it is suggested that I should train in the Wilderness Agility course with a demonic skull. And this applies to every single skill in RuneScape. Want some options for training cooking? Well, at level 47, these are the 2 recommended methods. This works for every single skill, and I am so ridiculously excited about it. Not only because it took a ton of time to implement, and a ton of time to make, but also because I think this is something that I'm personally going to use all the time when I'm making a new account and playing through a new Iron Man. There's only so much information that I can hold in my head at one time, and I do not like scrolling through these super long pages, so I'm stoked. I'm only level 6 farming on this account, but as a means to train it, you could shovel manure or do the Violet as Blue quest. And something I want to mention too is if you're looking for more information on the recommended method, well, you can click more info on the right-hand side, and it is going to link you directly to an associated wiki page. So not only is it going to give you an idea of where to train, it's also going to point you in the right direction to find more specifics on the method itself. This thing is so sick. I'm going to be using it myself all the time, although I did want to mention there are a couple training methods that are missing. I will add them in when I have a chance to. But functionally, it's complete, and it is more than good enough for leagues and to answer most questions that most people will have. It automatically pulls up your stats, and it should put you in a really good spot. Very similar to the skill training setup, this is also the gear recommender. But basically, how this works is you type in a RuneScape name, it will look up your stats, and then for each combat style, it is just going to recommend a set of weapons and armor to use at every combat level bracket. This is really nice because instead of having to scroll through a page of 100 different types of weapons and armor and trying to figure out what's good value, what's too expensive, what degrades, this is just going to give you a solid recommendation at every level bracket. Although I'm very happy with the gear that's being recommended, there are points in this where I would like to be able to also explain the choice and the decision-making process. So as an example, if you look at tier 90 for range, you're not going to see a Noxious Longbow. The reason for that is it is 400 million coins. So the one thing that is being added to the automatic gear recommender is you'll be able to click on any of these options, and it'll also give you a little bit of a blurb as to why the recommendation is being made as well, so that not only are you getting a piece of gear to get, but you'll also know the why too. Look out for that in the next few days. But in terms of what the recommendations are, hopefully this helps a lot of people with their gear progression. You may recognize this a little bit from the skill training section, but what we've done here is we've got a series of early game, mid game, and end game account goals. This is a little blurb of what we're actually focusing on in the early game, and this is pretty well Iron Man focused, but this is our early game, mid game, and late game guides. What we've done here is instead of a traditional pathway guide that just tells you do this, and then do this, and then do this, and then do this, which I can find a little bit dull and also kind of takes the decision-making process out of it, which can make an MMO feel not terribly fun, what we've done here is I've got a section of early game, mid game, and late game account goals that are generally good things to do. But instead of mindlessly telling you to go do this thing, what you can do is you can click on a goal and it will actually tell tell you what the unlock is. And then you can make the decision for yourself if you actually want to pursue that or complete that early game goal. And if you do, it's automatically loaded your stats. It's going to show in green which requirements you have. And for the requirements that you don't have, any of the quests are going to automatically link to the wiki quick guide, and any of the skills are going to pop up just like the skill training guide and tell you exactly how you should train your skill to get that requirement. This way, if you don't want to do Desert Treasure as an example, you can read what it does, you can make the decision for yourself. If you want to do Desert Treasure, all of the information you would need to get all the requirements is there, but if not, you can just keep moving on and going through all of these other objectives. For the early game right now, I've got Desert Treasure, the Dig Site quest, Haunted Mine for the Salve Amulet, Lunar Diplomacy, the Penguin Quest series, Royal Trouble for managing Miscellanea, the Succession quest for Dive, as well as the World Wakes quest. I've got a rundown of all of the rewards as well as all of the requirements as well for every single one of these. And this format follows the exact same way through the mid-game and the late game. So if you're wondering what you need to unlock ancient curses on your account and you're a little scared to pull up that list, all you gotta do is click once. And all of a sudden, wow, even though I haven't really started this quest chain, I actually have almost all of the skill requirements. And training to those level requirements may not be too bad, because instead of having to look up a different method for each one and try to figure out how to train these skills, all I gotta do is click. So hopefully this makes setting some goals for your account a little bit easier to keep track of and a little more satisfying to follow without having to get lost in guides or wiki pages. Obviously, into the late game, these requirements get a little bit crazier, as Eclipse of the Heart and unlocking the Amasket boss requires one of the most insane quest chains in human history, but alas, all of the information is there for you to make your own decision on what you want to work on your account. We also have combat style specific guides. I'm going to show you guys the Necromancy one because it's been proofread and actually finalized, whereas the other combat styles are still a work in progress. But this is a rundown of everything you'd need to know about Necromancy. All of the synergies, all of the categorized abilities, how Necrosis stacks work, how the ultimates work, how soul stacks work, and this all categorized in such a way to really give someone a deep dive if that's what they're looking for. Obviously, this is not for a brand new player. This is advanced info on everything that you'd need to know about a combat style to learn what all the abilities do and hopefully come up with a good rotation of your own. It's got not only an overview of what the abilities do, but it'll also tell you when they're best used and how to properly utilize them. Do the exact same thing for all of your Necromancy conjures and commands. Also look at all of your incantations, and then last but not least, of course, a little rundown of how the talent tree works. But without focusing too much on the combat-specific guides, because I know as much as they are extremely useful to combat-focused players, the RS guide is more about focusing on new players and also more focusing on kind of topical things. What if we click on the Leagues hub on the top right? Well, you're gonna see a couple pretty cool things. First thing down here is you're gonna see a list of my relic picks, and in the future, this is also gonna link to my video where I broke down every single relic in the leagues. We've got an image for the passive tiers, and we've got descriptions of what every single relic in every single tier does, just in case you want a nice convenient way to flip through all of your relics and weigh your options. But on top of that, for those who are looking for more of a structured progression guide for day one, because I know if you're an old school player, that's kind of a classic thing that you do, it's part of the culture, this is a progression path that was made in collaboration with Laura, Zappy, and some contributors from the PVM Encyclopedia as well. This is a list of 358 steps that if you wanted to on League's launch, you could complete in order in something like 3 or 4 hours. And if you get to the absolute end of this list, you're gonna finish off by killing Elvarg, completing the Dragon Slayer quest, browsing Ozai's store for the League's task, and you'll be ending off in only a few hours with 2,490 League points, which is gonna get you, I believe, out of tier 3 and partway to tier 4. As much as I'm not a huge advocate for pathway guides like this one, especially ones that are very convoluted and last for months and months, I know a lot of people like having one for day one just to kind of get your account started and set up on the right foot. So if that's something you're interested in, thersguide.com/leagues/day-1 for the day one guide. This is also the method that I'm going to be following, and by the time you watch this video, I will have done a dry run of this account and this pathway on just like a regular brand new Iron Man, just to make sure everything works and I'm happy with exactly everything and the way that it's listed. On top of this, from the main page, we have a setup guide that is new player friendly for setting up the Runescape client and playing for the first time ever. And I wanted to bring this up even though I brought it up in the last video because it has been completely rewritten thanks to a ton of feedback from the community. So while it also looks a little bit different than it would have last week, all of the copy and every single piece of text on this page has been completely rewritten, and it should be pretty clean and pretty easy. So far, we've tested a bunch of new players and sent them the website, and they've had no issues getting set up into RuneScape for the first time. I also love how how interactive it is in a lot of ways too. So as an example, if you want to pin a marker on the world map, you can actually double click just like you would in game. We've also added a ton of guides to this and really bulked it up just a little bit with things like the lodestone network, skyboxes, filters, high contrast mode, as well as how to read things like your buff bar, your debuff bar, how to reposition it, and things like your channeling bar that a lot of players may not know exactly how it works, what it means, or how to move it around. After that, we've also got a set of suggested default gameplay settings and where to change all of them. So all of these settings are things that in my opinion and in my experience, the game has set wrong by default. So if you swap all of these settings, you should be in for a slightly better time. Follow that up with a glossary of common RuneScape terms, and just like that, you should have a new player in a pretty good spot with regard to getting started into RuneScape. You'll have your client set up, you'll have your settings right where you want them, you'll have your interface, and you'll have some idea of what you're looking at on your screen. But we've added so much more since then. And we're gonna click off of setup, and instead, we're gonna move on over to getting started. In the Getting Started guide, we have a breakdown of exactly how the tick system works with a metronome, as well as a ton of different information and tips on how to maximize the tick system and your gameplay, including things like when performing high input activities such as combat, play on a world with under 200 players. After that, we've got a full rundown on RuneScape and keybind theory. This is keybind theory that you could apply to just about any game, but what I've done here is I've got all of my most important theory points with regard to setting up a good batch of keybinds. So this doesn't just say copy these keybinds and use them, it gives you a set of principles, a set of suggestions, and a ton of reasoning for every single keybind that you're going to set up. So if you're a new combat player who's having trouble figuring out keybinds, if you read this page, you should have all of the info you need to know, not only to know how top RuneScape players set up their keybinds, but the logic behind it, which in my experience is far more important than what the keybinds are themselves. Then we've got a full introduction to combat, which is more or less an explanation of exactly what all of the information on your ability tooltips mean. This section was written by Pup and his wife Johnna, and it is absolutely fantastic. We've got a rundown of how damage is dealt in RuneScape, how critical strikes work, as well as how to improve your accuracy and the damage potential system. But following that up, we get into some of the new content, where we've also got rundowns of each of the 4 combat styles. This is really helpful for a new player if you're trying to decide which combat style you want to pick, or you want to have some kind of idea of which styles are more or less powerful than the others. We've got Necromancy rated for ease of use, early game power level, and late game power level. And as you can see here, we can go through Necromancy, Magic, melee, and ranged. If you get stuck into this guide, there is a lot of other information as well, but of course, every single page can be linked individually. So if you're looking for one specific thing, like as an example, how to train your skills, you don't need to go through the whole guide and get to that page, just bookmark that one page and use it. But it's designed in such a way that there is a lot of information for those who want it, whereas if you want more of an at-a-glance look, that should be available to you too. But this section here is completely new, and it's a bit of a game changer if you're a combat enjoyer, because it actually takes you through every single combat setting in the game. So not only full manual, Revolution, Legacy mode, and the different combat modes, but also all of the style-specific settings for magic, for summoning, for the action bar, things like precise ability cooldown timers, automatically trigger regenerate, share offers, precise adrenaline values, all of those settings that people have set one way or another, all of the reasoning why, and where to find them as well. There's also recommendations for each of these settings for which ones should be on and which ones should be off. We've also got a deep dive on exactly how action bar binding works to automatically swap your action bars depending on your combat style, as well as how to set it up for multiple combat styles at once. And then one other section that I think is extremely cool, and this was written by Pup, so full credit to him, is on targeting. This is more information on targeting than I have ever seen in any RuneScape resource ever. And not only does it have a ton of awesome information on how to change targets, how target cycling works with some awesome visuals, but it also has a deep dive and graphics on exactly what all of RuneScape's targeting options do and what they mean, and it's visualized really nicely. As an example, did you know that conal targeting actually selects your target within a conal area based on the way that your camera is positioned? So it's actually not related to your character at all. I also, as a side note, have no idea why this is the setting, and this should absolutely be deleted, but either way, I bet you didn't know that because I definitely didn't until I read this page. That is the end of the overview of the RS guide. Send it off to your friends if you want. I've linked all of the specific pages that I talked about in the description down below, as well as in the pinned comment. But yeah, main thing here is I just wanted to say thank you for all the support. It's been really cool seeing how many people have volunteered to help out with the website, have given us really good feedback, and have also just generally been sharing this site with their friends. Hitting 100,000 page views in a week without even properly launching the website is really, really cool to see. And to me, it really shows and proves that there is an appetite for getting new players into RuneScape. I just want to mention again, we didn't make this for money. This isn't monetized in any way. People were speculating that like, oh, there are big bars on the side. Is that for ads? No, it is not. That is not what we're interested in. We put all of our time into making this guide specifically so that we could help new players. Because all 5 of us, Griffin, Josh, Pup, Johnna, and I, all firmly believe that RuneScape is an awesome game that does an absolutely terrible job with new players. So, with that said, let me know in the comments below what you think. Hopefully you've enjoyed all of the features that we've talked about. And now, I'm gonna try to get some rest before leagues, because I'm planning on streaming like 16 hours a day, and I am already running on empty. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.